So today we got a question from a bro who wants to know, yo, Elliott, why is it that sometimes skinny guys got double chins? I'm afraid that's gonna be me. What can I do to fix this? Great question, bro. Before we go, you ought to know my name. It's Elliott Hulse. I'm a strongman, strength coach. I've been making men strong here on YouTube since 2007, and you just stumbled upon your new favorite fitness channel for men over 40. And if you want to work one-on-one with old Uncle Yo to get jacked and lean in your second half of life, click the link down below or go to alphaschool.ai. So, question from Jeremiah Johnson. Okay, Jeremiah. Says, yo, E, I have a weird question, man. Hey, I love weird questions. What causes young, skinny people to have a double chin? It's kind of a fear of mine as I'm growing older. I see a lot of men that just carry a lot of neck fat. It's just weird to me to see it in young, thin men, right? Is there some sort of exercise daily habit to keep us from happening? Thanks for any info, my guy. Okay, great. So, of course, there's the double chin due to having too much fat. And that's me. This right here, when I start gaining too much weight, my chin just becomes two, right? That's just where it is for me. As I start losing weight, it starts to go away. But you're asking about skinny guys that don't naturally have a bunch of fat hanging around their neck. Why is it that it looks like they got a gullet, a thing hanging there, right? And it has a lot to do with a muscular imbalance within the neck, right? Ooh, I got armpit sweat. So it has to do with the imbalance between the neck, right? And so as we've talked about upper cross syndrome, lower cross syndrome, just different reciprocal inhibition relationships between muscles in our body, we've also talked about the neck. And you know that the neck has these because look, this muscle right here is so big and thick, right? The sternocleidomastoid. I can never say it right, but sternum, because it attaches to the sternum, clavicle, mastoid, sternocleidomastoid. It's like almost like a triangle muscle, right? Huge muscle in most people. And it's also an extender of the neck. It's an extender of the neck. Then you also have like subaccipitals, I think they're called, muscles back here that extend the neck. And what you see me doing right here is something that is most people. Most people have some form of hyperextension at the neck. And it's not necessarily that they're walking around with their neck extended, although some people do. It's just that there's a muscular imbalance there. And what happens then is reciprocal inhibition. Basically means where like there's a muscle that's overly active, there's gonna be one that's inhibited. And usually for people, it's the infra and omohyoid, the deep cervical extenders, right? Flexors. This is flexion. Deep cervical flexors, extenders, I think, right? Extension, flexion, right? And so it's these two muscles in here. And the interesting thing about these two muscles here is that they only engage when the tongue is on the roof of the mouth, pushing the back of the front teeth. Do that right now while you're here, right? Like, just let your jaw be slack. Be a slack jaw. Just be a slack jaw. Slack jaw, right? And soft. Tighten up that jaw, you know? It's on. How often do you train that muscle? Never. Nobody trains that muscle except if you're looks maxing. Right? Gen Zers know what I'm talking about. Maybe even some millennials. Older guys like me, looks maxing. Looks maxing means trying to make yourself look as maximally good as you can, right? As a man. And there's exercises you can do, right? Like lifting in the gym, looks maxing. But you can looks max your whole fucking face with an exercise called mewing. And it's not mewing like you're a cat mewing. I think it was named after the doctor that who popularized this. But I learned all this stuff decades ago from Paul Chek, studying his courses on muscular imbalances and shit like that. And I learned that like when you do exercise, especially when your head is laid back or almost any time, you want to engage the deep cervical flexors by putting the tongue on the roof of your mouth. I mean, even in like martial arts, they teach you this. In yoga, they teach you this. In all forms of physical ascendancy, right? Becoming the strongest version of ourselves, especially if they are rooted in principles, right? They're going to tell you, tongue on the roof of your mouth, engage these deep muscles. So to answer your question, why is it that there are like skinny guys? Well, it has a lot to do with that muscular imbalance. And then what ends up happening over time, progressively, the jaw starts to recede, right? Because there's nothing holding it. See, when I do this, I have to bring my jaw forward, put the tongue in the roof of the mouth. I got to engage all these muscles, right? Even clenching my teeth down, I engage these jaw muscles, which is very helpful for keeping the jaw where it belongs, right? Over time, the jaw becomes slack, like I was talking about before, slack jaw. I was trying to think of like a funny name to call somebody with a slack jaw, but like that's bad enough as it is. You're a fucking slack jaw. Get out of here, slack jaw, right? Slack jaw's got his mouth open. And oftentimes, slack jaw is a result of poor breathing. Oh boy, Elliott, you're going down too many rabbit holes. So slack jaw, open mouth breathing is a result of being either blocked up over here or blocked up in the trachea because of poor posture, right? Bad breathing leads to poor posture leads to bad breathing, right? So if you're not breathing, and if you got and you know how many people got narrow nasal passageways? Like I got a big nigga nostrils, and so I smell you coming, right? So I got these big old holes, and I can also actually feel this is open, especially when I'm like really breathing. I can feel all this shit open. A lot of guys can't do that. I notice a lot of you guys, y'all got fucking allergies. You got, now, rabbit holes after rabbit holes. Hope you guys don't mind. You're not genetically, but physical degeneration due to parental malnutrition causes narrowing of the palate. You got a narrow palate, right? This right here. It's crazy. The palate gets narrow, and as a result of the narrowing of the palate, it creates dysfunction even in the brain. The pineal gland is right above here. I believe it's the pineal gland, right? I get these kind of confused. But it's right here. It's like right here. Right here is the pineal gland. And when your parents and grandparents, and it's been at least 3 generations, have been eating processed foods, y'all have crowded teeth. You needed braces, you had crowded teeth. And that means that your palate has been narrowed. We have a narrow palate, the teeth come in all crooked, but at the same time, it also prevents like optimal brain function and what? Bad breathing, right? Being like this, being a slack jaw with your receded jaw, right? So that is all a function of the foods that were being eaten by your mother when you were in utero, and also your continuation of poor processed food eating and not having the type of nutrients that would be needed, which Dr. Weston A. Price actually asserted: vitamin A, vitamin D, and he called it the X factor, but I think we call it vitamin K now, right? If those are not present, it leads to malformation of the palate, crowding of the teeth. What are we talking about right now? So you're asking me about the double chin. Double chin, this is all associated with that weird double chin look. And you know it's dysfunctional because it's unattractive. It's unattractive. And I know you're pointing it out. And usually in nature, that which is dysfunctional is ugly. Like, I'm not calling people ugly, but it's like it's just not in its natural place. It's not set up the way it should be, right? Small nasal passageways, narrow palates, crooked teeth. It don't look good because that's not the way God intended for us to be. So anyway, bottom line is nutrition and the right exercises can support your ability to remove the double chin. Or if you're just fat like me, and you just have the double chin because you're still, I'm still losing weight, fellas. Give me some time, all right? Then I don't know, maybe get some surgery, cut that shit up. Do what you want, dude. Done.